To the United Kingdom now, where the inquiry into the News of the World phone hacking scandal continues.
Celebrity victims were again at the centre of today's session. Comedian Steve Coogan also appeared, saying he faced many issues with tabloid newspapers invading his personal life.
I've never set myself up as a paragon of virtue, as a model of morality. I simply do what I do, and that's what I like to be judged on, my work. When I was considering taking action against News International, my publicists said to me, "Do you really want to make enemies of these people?" By implication, the inference being that and when I asked them to elaborate, they said, "Well, in the future, if they decide to run another story, we can use it as a bargaining chip. We can say that you could have taken legal action and you didn't. Therefore, why don't you drop this story?" But when they said these people, they meant that the inference was clear that if you make life difficult for them, they will use their newspapers as a weapon against you.
Comedian Steve Coogan showing a much more sober side to that UK phone hacking inquiry. Well, for more, our Europe correspondent Emma Alberici joins us now from London. Emma, good morning. Also appearing overnight was a former aide to Elle Macpherson, who revealed that the model had her voicemail tampered with.
Indeed. In fact, Elle Macpherson was one of the first 5 victims who led to the jailing of two former employees of the News of the World. It was said in open court in 2006 that Elle Macpherson's phone was indeed hacked. Just before that, she had sacked her business advisor, Mary Ellen Field, claiming that Mary Ellen Field had been indiscreet and had been leaking information to the press. Mary Ellen Field was an internationally renowned intellectual property consultant when she met Elle Macpherson. In other words, what she does for a living is protect people's brands. She was brought into Elle Macpherson's group of companies to help her with her lingerie business and her body products business. And over the course of their relationship, the court heard today that it developed into somewhat of a friendship where Elle Macpherson confided in her business advisor and they often called each other. In fact, Mary Ellen Field said they would speak up to 5 times a day, to the extent that Elle Macpherson would talk to her about intimate things about her family. And so when stories started to appear in the press that didn't come from Elle Macpherson or her immediate family, she started to become suspicious and asked Mary Ellen Field to employ a security company to sweep the house and the car and the surroundings of her home office to see whether perhaps there was a bug anywhere to be found, which there wasn't. And so then she pointed the finger at Mary Ellen Field, the woman she once called the nuts and bolts of her business. And I think we've got a bit of that testimony and the impact it had on Mary Ellen Field.
I sent her a text, and on the 9th she rang me on the way back from the airport and said I was fired. She didn't want me to handle her business anymore. She couldn't trust me. I was ungrateful for what she'd done for me.
Would it be fair to say it had a very serious effect?
It had a very serious, and because I'd become ill, I couldn't, and I was falling down all the time. I couldn't. It's not a really good advertisement for yourself looking for a new job.
Mary Ellen Field there on that point, Emma, how has she gone about picking up the pieces of her life since that sacking?
It wasn't only a sacking, Michael, because Elle Macpherson accused her of being an alcoholic. Falsely accused her, we heard in court today, because Elle Macpherson sent Mary Ellen Field to Arizona in America to attend the Meadows Addiction Clinic, accusing Mary Ellen of being an alcoholic because she said she couldn't understand. She put her arms around Mary Ellen Field just before she sacked her and said, I can understand you're an alcoholic because I have been one too, and so I can see the symptoms. You've been leaking to the press because you're an alcoholic, and I demand that you go and seek treatment. I'm going to pay for it. So she sent her off to an addiction clinic in Christmas 2005, and Mary Ellen Field spoke in very emotive terms today about what that experience was like, not being an alcoholic and not having an addiction problem. The Meadows Clinic came back not only with a clean bill of health, it actually wrote a report saying that Mary Ellen Field had demonstrated symptoms of stress from being bullied. So she went through quite an ordeal and lost 5 years of income and became very sick and had to have a pacemaker fitted. So she is currently suing Rupert Murdoch's News International.
And finally, Emma, we saw there just before you came on comedian Steve Coogan essentially taking up where fellow celebrity Hugh Grant left off the previous day.
Indeed, and some startling evidence from him too. And I guess all this evidence turns on what's in the public's interest versus what the public are merely interested in. And Steve Coogan, as we heard there, saying he's not a paragon of virtue and he's never put himself up as that. So he wants to be taken seriously for his work and he doesn't think that his private life has any bearing. But he talked about journalists going through his garbage, about photographers camping out on his lawn and disturbing his children. He talked about the fact that his friends were being bribed in a pub by journalists, offering them money to give over information about Steve Coogan and his private life. So we're getting quite an interesting perspective from celebrities about what they go through when they, like the rest of us, are just trying to lead normal lives away from their work.
OK, Emma Alberici in London, thank you.
And one of the most challenging elements of that whole Elle Macpherson phone hacking matter is that after it was incontrovertibly proven that Elle Macpherson's phone had been hacked by the tabloid, Elle Macpherson has neither offered an apology to Mary Ellen Field nor has she paid her any compensation, and nor has there been any conversation between them about that, even though Mary Ellen Field has been, comprehensively found to have not acted in any unlawful or incorrect way at all. So there's, all sorts of fallout and ramifications from it.
That sort of thing would strike a lot of people as very strange, at the very least.